I win.
What do you mean you win? I had a hand just like that before. I didn't win.
Because I win.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Hoagie and Brian, not the man Keen, from the Nerdthusiast Poker Podcast. Back yet again for a special interview. This time we have, I'm calling you like the Wonder Kid, dude. Like you're like, you come out of nowhere and just crushing everything.
Ben Wang Jr.
Ben Wang Jr. We got Sam Laskowitz on the podcast. Welcome, man. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Thanks for having me on. Excited.
No problem. So, is this your? Have you done any podcasts before?
No, it's actually my first.
Okay,
Yes.
so I do a little bit of background digging. I know I did a little article on you last year, and I was like digging. I'm like, I think this is his first, man. We're gonna break we're gonna pop the cherry here on the podcast.
So we have to tell them. So we have like a superstition on our podcast where right after an interview, the person that we're interviewing tends to go on and bink like a major tournament, right? Even though you've already binked several, we're a lucky podcast.
I like it.
We had poker. We had
Ryan Dodd on.
Ryan Dodd. Then he won $250,000 at the bounty last year, which
one that you came in second on.
Yeah. And then we had a couple other people win big things, and then Casey Lynn just came on last month. She's complaining. She's like, I never won a circuit event. She goes on right after the podcast drops, wins 2 circuit rings like the next month. I'm letting you know, we are the luckiest podcast in the poker realm.
He's gonna win the main. I'm putting money on. That's it.
Maybe I'll win the win millions or something.
Let's go. Yeah. All right. So tell us a little bit about you, man. Let's start from the beginning, man. How did you get down this crazy route here?
Yeah. So I've been playing poker, I guess, for kind of my whole life since like 2003. I was like, I guess 10, and the Moneymaker, the boom, watching it on ESPN. Playing with all my friends. We'd play like, little $5 tournaments and stuff. And then I kind of just kept poker as a hobby forever. Played some, decently high stakes cash in my like younger 20s and stuff. And then I didn't really think poker was going to be like a viable career. Just cash, like playing cash, like live cash, I didn't think was going to be too viable for me. So I ended up going to law school. I finished, all 3 years. I was a lawyer for about a year and a half, and then I got kind of back into poker. My friends kind of like roped me back in. I started playing some cash, and then I came out to the series in 2022, and I played one event that whole summer. I played the Colossus, and I came in second, and the rest was kind of history.
Hold on. So obviously we have your Hendon up, and it was a part of the article that Anthony wrote about you last year.
Yeah.
And like, tell me, like, I mean, I know you played some home games, tournaments in that sense. Was this your very first tournament you've ever played, like in regards to like a circuit series, or like had you fired at like a Borgata back in the day or something like that?
Nope. That was my first bullet ever in a tournament.
Okay, so hold on.
Crazy.
So how many bullets did you fire at the Colossus? You're telling me you fired one bullet.
One. Yeah, one. If I busted that, I would have went straight to go play like 10-25 cash and never played a tournament again. I thought tournaments were a waste of time. I really didn't like them.
Wow, dude, that is impressive. Jesus.
He said, "I'm just one bullet, $400."
So when you were a lawyer, you said you were a lawyer for a couple of years. Criminal, civil. What was your specialty?
Corporate tax, mergers and acquisitions.
Okay, nice.
More
nice.
Transactional than litigation, but
yeah. What did your parents think about the decision for you to kind of be like, you know what, I'm out?
It's my mom took more convincing, I think, than my dad. My dad plays poker a little bit too, so he was kind of like, he understood, he kind of got it. But I think after, I started having some bigger scores. Like I didn't leave right after. I didn't quit my job right after the Colossus. I stayed on for a couple months, and I was more focused on trying to like learn tournaments. So I got a coach. I was playing some online like small stuff, try to just get volume in and try to learn how to play tournaments. And then I left. I left like towards the end of that year. So I think after that time they were more on board with it,
How old are you, Sam?
31, just turned 31.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, it's we always have these conversations with people like, what was it like talking to your parents about these things? 'Cause, I mean, I think that's like if you have a strong parental base in your life, like it's hard, you know, like it's hard trying to explain that to your parents and things like that. I know personally, like I obviously haven't had the success you had, but I've been playing for a long time. It's just smaller stuff. And I remember personally me like having a conversation with my dad, and he was worried like I was going to get addicted to gambling, and like just there's so many like fears out there.
Yeah, I think the biggest fear, I don't know about everybody, but for like at least my parents was more like the job security of the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, like it's risky, but I'm very good about like gambling. You know, like I don't have any vices like for gambling or anything, and they know I take this like
off my list.
No vice, you got no vices, none.
That's usually my like go-to at the end of the interview. I want to know because I mean, you are unique in the sense that you don't like, for example, you know, Poker Mommy came on. She was like,
she likes buying clothes.
She likes buying clothes. Like shopping's her vice, you know. And other people, it's like sports bets, and everyone has something that their money that they work so hard for in poker kind of goes to. A family, you have kids, a wife, anything like that? No.
No family, no kids.
And you got the world by the balls. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Like, geez, man, you can travel the whole circuit whenever you want. That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm very, fortunate.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you still playing cash on the sides, or are you just straight tournament focused?
A little bit, but I'm way more in the tournament streets these days. You know, like I really want to, like win as many big things as I can and play the biggest stuff and kind of be like, you know, just have my name in the conversation each year for like player of the year and whatnot.
Where did you finish last year? Were you on?
I was 40 or 36 or something like that. And then right now I think I'm like top 10 or so, 15 this year, something like that.
That's sick, man. That's sick. So like, I heard that they're trying to. I just saw Sean D post something about it. They're trying to maybe restructure the player of the years for like World Series payout points. I don't know if you heard anything about that. Is there any?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't really feel strongly about it. I guess like I've seen some different arguments. I saw like Phil Hellmuth said it should be like best 10 cashes or something, so it doesn't reward like just a ton of min cashes. But I mean, I don't know. I guess it just kind of is what it is, and you just go for it, right? Like if you want to be player of the year, whatever the rules are, that's what they are. You just got to kind of incentivize. Yeah, it just incentivizes you to maybe approach the game differently, play more online stuff, play more volume versus go for bigger stuff, deeper finishes. Maybe I don't know. You know.
So let me jump back a little bit. So you come up playing cash. What kind of bankroll are you playing with, if you don't mind me asking? Like 10-25. Like what do you think? Since you're a pretty conservative person, it seems like. What are you playing with, like that in that range?
Yeah, I was way less conservative. Like, especially before I was like professional. I really thought I was like the best too at cash, and like I was delusional to a degree. You know, I was just like, oh, I'm the best player in this pool. Like, I would go play Borgata and Foxwoods and all over, and I just always thought I was like, oh, the best player in the pool. So I was always just shot taking. I kind of didn't believe in variance and stuff. But the more you actually take this seriously and it's like a profession, you got to kind of treat it more as like a sport and an actual career where you got to like, you know, have a bankroll and abide by bankroll management. Even now, though, I would say I'm a little more aggressive with shot taking and keeping action of myself. I think it's important to, if you believe you have a high ROI or high EV in a certain field, keep as much of yourself as you can. I've been fortunate that like all my big scores, I've basically had 100% of myself. So
that's good to know, because that's one question I always have for people who kind of go into the poker world as like a professional, right? That's their job. I always wonder, like, what is their, you know, losses for the year? Like, if you look at Negreanu, for instance, like he made that all very, very public from 2023. Like the dude was down, I think it was like almost $2 million, you know, and I wonder how much of that, you know, is his, or how much of that is, you know, with swap or action or whatever. Because like you said, if you know that you have what it takes to make those deep runs and to make those big scores, like why would you even sell any of your equity? Because you would want as much as you can. But then we all know variance. We know how the game is. Like you don't see, not someone like you, but you do, you know, there's people who are mainstays. And then there's people who are like hit lightning in a bottle for a brief moment in time. And then you're like, whatever happened to this guy? Whatever happened to that guy? Like one guy, you mentioned Borgata, you kind of came up there, like Dwight Pilgrim. Like, do you remember the name Dwight Pilgrim?
I do, yeah.
like that dude was like lightning in a bottle. Talk about like came out of seemingly nowhere, shipped a bunch of big tournaments, won a bunch of money, and now it's like, where's Dwight Pilgrim? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
It's important.
Every pro says bankroll management is like the key. It's funny because that reminded me of I don't know if you ever heard this quote, but they interviewed Lane Flack one year when he was like in the player. This is back 15 years ago, whatever. Lane Flack was like in player of the year running, but he was like in fourth place, but he was down like $2 million for the year. They're like, hey Lane, like you're in fourth place, like how's it feel? And he's like, I'm down $2 million. He's like, well, what do you think? He's like, I would hate to be the third place guy. Like,
yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's important. It's important. Like I would always suggest to people like to kind of know what your average buy-in is, like that you can maintain, like whatever bankroll management rules you use, and then you manipulate it by like selling action to bigger stuff that you want to play, to get it down to that ABI, and then you have to play smaller stuff that's below your ABI, so you could keep more of yourself in the ones that are above your average buy-in, so you could shot take. Like that's how I kind of advise people and kind of what I've done.
Now, was that something you developed on your own, or was that with the assistance of like a coach and like someone who does this like full time?
I'm very much like a sponge. Like I try to take as much information I can. So I'm always constantly asking people like, what do they do? Or I watch a ton of podcasts and interviews with all these like great players, all these legends, and try to listen to their advice. So and then you just kind of like I guess try things out and what works for you, what makes sense for you, right? Like that's I think probably the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because I know this is hard for a lot of players. Have you had trouble going down lower in lower buy-in tournaments?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it's been that's probably been my biggest like I'm trying like especially this year at the World Series. I really want to make it a point to. Last year I feel like I went from my first ever WSOP event was the Colossus. My second WSOP event was the 25K 6 Max the next year. So I kind of moved up stakes really fast. And once you start to get a taste for like the high stakes and these big min caches and stuff and the smaller fields where you're like deep like it's amazing when you play a 10K with under 100 people and all of a sudden, you're in the money and then it's final table. So it's you're deep all the time as opposed to you play like, a 1K with 1,000 people in it, so I feel like I kind of almost didn't bring my A game to some of the smaller stuff last year. So I really want to like, like a quality over quantity type of approach and like really make sure I'm focused and playing. Even, I should be taking these seriously. It's just a fault of mine. I think that moving up stakes so fast, it's kind of hard to.
I mean, I think I already know this answer, but do you see a huge difference? Like, I mean, you're probably playing more of a GTO style on these higher levels, but then you got to drop down and you got to change it more to like an exploitive kind of play, I would assume, against like, guys like me and Brian.
A little bit. Yeah. You definitely make some adjustments, but I think, if you just want to play good fundamental poker, I think that's going to be your best bet. And then some spots I think are obvious, like, if you're playing a guy and he's never ever bluffing ever, just fold. It's not that you don't need the solver to tell you that or anything.
Yeah. I think me personally, so I played a lot of online back in the beginning of when it launched in New Jersey. I grinded a shit ton. That's where I got a lot of my roots at. And for me, like I was going, I built my roll up a little bit, and I was playing, the $50, $100 range every single night. I'm firing bullets in that. And then I was having the same issue where I was finding it hard to play the $10 and $20 tournaments. So like what I personally had to do was like I had to make like a mental challenge of like I wanted to get to a bankroll size of like starting with $200 to get to 10,000. So I had to like mentally refocus myself to be able to learn how to play $5 and $10. So that because I had the same problems, like I was just firing bullets at tens, not thinking about it.
Yeah, it could be a problem.
It's hard.
I think. Yeah, it's just a mental block, I think, and you just really have to. It's all about just bringing your A game, and not. Also, when you win a lot of stuff fast, you kind of get like a winner's tilt type of thing where you're like this guy shouldn't be doing that. Like that's not a good play, and then you end up paying him off or something. You just get too attached to pots, too entitled to like, oh, that's my pot. And I think a big part of my growth has been playing the high roller stuff and kind of seeing how these guys conduct themselves, and they're not entitled to pots and they just play solid, make really good big decisions, and and then you bring that with you, in everything. I think it helps a lot, like to kind of realize that you can't just run it. You can't win every pie. You can't run every river. So that's kind of the
So I misspoke. You did win. You won the mystery bounty event. I thought I saw that you came in second.
That's where you first came on my radar because I was in that event. I finished 22nd. I pulled the 100K in that event.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I finished 22nd. We were never on the same table though, because
I don't think so.
So I was looking at afterwards. That's how you first came on my radar. I'm like, and then I started looking at it and I was like, oh shit, he shipped it to Colossus and whatnot. And you kind of took off from there. So I've been following you ever since that mystery bounty. But since then, what has been like your biggest one that like, not biggest win, but like the tournament or event, even coming in a couple of thousand that stood out to you the most since then? Like what's been the most accomplishing award since that original
I think everything I did last month I think was really big for me. Like I won the dream seed in that last chance series that Poker Go had. I won one of the events. I beat Ike heads up. I beat like a really stacked final table. Like all that stuff like really was really, really gratifying to me to compete with like all these legends and kind of do pretty well. And I had like 5 final tables or something. It just felt like that was probably like my peak accomplishment up to this point.
I have to apologize too because I didn't tell you this. I felt like an asshole because he had just shipped that. I was at Borgata and I text you and I think I sent you a message. I'm like, hey man, if you're at Borgata, do you want to do a podcast? You're like, I'm kind of tied up. I'm out in Vegas right now. And then I look like an hour later. I'm like, the dude just shipped 200,000. I feel like an ass. I didn't even say like congratulations. Like, I am a little busy right now. I just won $250,000. No big deal.
That's not good. Yeah, I think that was probably like that's the one I'm most proud of. Like that final table, it was kind of unfortunate because they streamed every final table the whole week except for that one. They had technical difficulties and they couldn't stream that one. But it was such a good final table, and it was I'm very happy I brought that one home. So
now, when you're playing with those guys, obviously you're playing with the same people for that period of time because they're all playing the same type of events. Yeah. Like you've developed a name for yourself. Like, are they like now like a part of your inner circle? Like, are these guys like communicating with you? Like, because I feel like like players tend to kind of like branch off into like like groups of friends. You know what I mean? Like, have you developed good relationships with these guys?
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely some of them, and I'm definitely friendly with everybody that plays in the studio. Like, I talk to them when I see them. I haven't really talked as much game with some people, but there's a couple guys that now I study with and we talk or we swap action and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the more I continue to play, the more people will. The closer we become and stuff. Yeah, I think that is pretty common. And the high stakes community is kind of like a smaller knit like thing. It's actually it's so much fun playing in there too. Like everybody knows each other. It's a lot of laughs. It's good. It's less intimidating, I think, than people might think it is. It's very fun.
That's good. That's actually good to know. That's a good piece of advice. So opposite side of that thing, it doesn't have to be like an enemy, but do you have like an arch nemesis, like someone that just like he just always got you or she's always got you? Is there anyone that's like, man, I hate playing against them?
Last year, I would say Bin Wang. I feel like every time I went deep in something, he was right there, and like he beat me in the Win Millions heads up, the Win Million mystery bounty. Sorry. Like he won it, I came in second. The Borgata one, he won, I came in 8th. Like it was just every time he was right there. He knocked me out of the 25K 6 max, I think. He just had my number all year. So
Ryan knocked him out last year, just so you know, in one of the tournaments. So
the
World Series,
quite the feat last year. Not many people did that.
Yeah, he's like he's got. I think he has that the mental block going in his head because he just shipped a $400 circuit ring last.
Yeah, he loves it, and I think he thrives in playing like different types of people and kind of like exploiting them, if you will. Like he's very good like in game, like as opposed to like me. I'm kind of like a strategy guy. Like I have like a like set strategies I kind of play with and stuff, and he's kind of like not a freestyler, but he loves it. So you can tell.
Yeah. So now are you out there in Vegas full time now, or are you still here on the East Coast?
I moved to Vegas right before the series last year, so I've been here for 10 months or so, 9 months maybe.
Yeah. And how are you growing accustomed to like just everything else that comes with Vegas. Like I know, it's the same thing. A lot of people they make the decision to become a professional player. They move out to Vegas and then they get caught up in the life. Like I know you said you don't have any vices, but you're still young enough to be going out and enjoying things a bit. Like
it's. I mean, I think New York City was maybe more tempting than Vegas. Like in some ways, like with the nightlife and everything, especially like Vegas has great nightlife, but I mean New York City is with the girls and nightlife, like it's pretty unmatched. So Vegas has been kind of more relaxing actually in a way, but and I don't spend much time in the casinos unless I'm playing or anything. So it's been nice. Like I really like it out here.
Yeah,
it's been good.
It's awesome.
Just focused on business at hand. That's what's up.
Do you golf at all? Do you golf at all?
Not like I'm not good. No, I'm a golf fish, so a little bit, but not really.
Okay, yeah, because I know like that's the other thing. Like that's the other vice that sucks people out in Vegas.
Yeah, that seems to be very common too. A lot of poker players get really addicted to golf. I think it is one of those things. I would. Anytime I start doing something, I get like very passionate about it and like very obsessed. Like that's all I want to do. So I would be afraid that would happen with golf. Or
you just get absorbed in it.
Yeah. I totally get that. 100%. What so let's jump to the future now. What are the plans coming up? Like what's the game plan this year? Anything definitely in the target range or travel or what's happening?
Yeah, I think leading up to the World Series, of course, like we have the Win Millions here in Vegas, so I'm going to stay here for that. And then the U.S. Poker Open is, another Poker Go major that I'm excited to play. And then I think Florida has something that I'll probably go to right before the series. I think it's in April. So those three are kind of like the ones that are most like I'm definitely going to. I think there's also a WPT in Thunder Valley that I've heard it's going to be good that I might fly to. It's only like an hour flight from Vegas, so that might be another stop I'll go to. But I think those ones are really the ones I'm mostly looking at. And I'm kind of just gearing up to play the series. I'm excited.
Are you just firing at everything, or like what are you just like every day we're just going for it, or what's the game plan for the series?
Yeah. I think I want to. I want to play a lot of the big stuff this year too. I think I want to play like the 50K, maybe the 100K, and
nice.
All the 25Ks. Yeah, I'm. I really want a bracelet too. I was so close, and I really want to win one. Like that's a big kind of like bucket list thing of mine.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. I mean, even though there's so many more bracelets out there, it's still that like
there's something about it, right?
Yeah, it's just having that level, like that's you could be really great, but it's like people always go like, well, does he have any bracelets? Does he have any rings? Does he have any of this? Like, but yeah, I think there's 99 bracelet events. Me and Brian said a breakdown. I'm not going to be out there for it, but how do you feel about the double bomb pot tournament coming? Did you hear about this one?
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, that'll probably be fun. I think it's actually a good format for Hold'em. Like double bomb pot, a double board bomb pot, PLO kind of plays like a little, you can't really put the money in. But if you've ever played like some cash and played some double board bomb pot with like Hold'em with only 2 cards, it's actually pretty fun. I think it's actually a good game format. So
yeah. I am unfortunately not going to be there for that, but I'm like, man, this is going to be the gamblers' holiday right here in this event.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll smash whatever number they put on it. Or
are you going to? I know you're firing some of the bigger ones, but are you going to fire any of the crazy ones like the Colossus or the any of those like?
I might play the Colossus. Last year I said I was 100% going to play, and then the day came and I was like, I can't go. I didn't want to go, but. I don't know. Maybe I should play that, but I tend to not play anything smaller than like 1K. Like 1K is like about like where I think it's like my time could be better used elsewhere, especially when there's like competing events running. But like there's like a 500 today at the Win. Like the Win Millions starts today, but like I wouldn't generally go play that. Like I'd rather just study or do something else. Like I think that's kind of a better use of my time at this point. But I want to, I'm going to try to play. I just want to play every day, and basically whatever there is, I'll play it. So.
Do you get like, no, I don't want to say burnout, but like, do you get a burnout or like, you think like, can you just go for days and days and days?
I can go for, I pride myself on like my mental stamina, and like, I don't really get tired of things. Like I have a very obsessive personality. So poker in particular, like it's going to be really, really hard for me to be like, I don't want to play, you know, or like, I don't want to, especially studying. I think studying is even more addicting to me than playing. Like I love playing, but I really, really like studying. It's just fun, like to keep learning, and it just feels endless, you know, like you're never going to know enough.
Yeah, I think it Albert Einstein that said a quote that I think we was talking about like relativity, and he was like he was climbing this one mountain, and then when he got to the top of the mountain, he saw like 30 other mountaintops. So it's like you get to one
Yeah.
point, you think you know everything, and then it just opens the door up to like 15 other possibilities, and you're like, wow, I didn't even think about this or that, you know?
Yeah, but very, very true. I think the in poker, like the more you actually know, the more you realize like
You don't.
you don't know that much. Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's a lot of you know, it's the infinite stuff to learn. So
What
especially
are
in
you,
tournaments too, it's a very like, you know, dynamic, different stack sizes, different stages of the tournament. Um, you get to play more pots because it's an ante. You know, like when I played cash, it's like
you could sit there all day.
there's only a certain amount of spots you have to be good at, right? Like, but
Yeah.
even that's infinite. But tournaments, it's like very, very dynamic, I think.
What are you studying right now? Is there any kind of videos or any kind of podcasts or anything that you know coaches that you're working with right now? Like, is there anything you could recommend to the viewers at home that you would say is like working really good right now?
I mostly am just doing stuff in the solver, just like picking spots that I want to get better at, and then you know, kind of running aggregated reports and like trying to build strategies, and then you test those strategies and try to like. There's like strategies and tactics. You know, it's like you have a like a general strategy, but then there's like little mechanics that you want to learn, like why does this hand bet, this hand check, like stuff like that. And then I think a good thing a lot of people could do, especially if they want to get good at tournaments, is I think I've been doing this a lot lately too, is just watching final tables from that, you know, they're on Poker Go or wherever, like, and you know, thinking about the spots, like what should this person do, and then you know, I run it in Hold'em Resources Calculator HRC, and that's like you know, to show you like the ICM kind of solution. You'll get an idea for like how these spots work at final tables. I think that's like really important. That's something I kind of disregarded too a little bit more in the beginning of my career. I was like, oh, you know, ICM is important, obviously, but first you got to kind of get to the final table. So I got to get good at getting there. But then all of a sudden I would be, you know, like the Colossus, I'm just at the final table. It's my first tournament. Or like the Borgata, it's like my 11th tournament. I'm at a final table where first place is 1.2 million. And I don't know anything about ICM. So, you know, it's important to kind of get like some good, you know, good fundamentals, good heuristics down. And I just think that's worth a lot. Like, you know, that's where the biggest amount of money is made, right? You're playing for the most buy-ins at the final table. So
Now, do you feel like you lose kind of a part of yourself by relying a lot on the analytics of the game? Like
mm-hmm.
you know, before you're primarily a cash player, so most of that is based on, you know, feel and familiarity with the people you're playing with.
Yeah.
Like you already said, tournaments are a lot more game involved.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like miss being able to just go off of script, if that makes sense? Or
It does, but not really, because like I like having, I kind of thrive in like having a strategy and feeling, you know, like I do, like the board is king 4-2. I do this. I know I do this. But I think being really good, part of being really good is you can't ignore that stuff. Like I have a lot of live poker experience, way more than online experience, and I take full advantage of it. Like you know, I'm every bit as much a live tell guy as I am a GTO guy or whatever. You know, like I use both constantly.
Yeah, I think that's been the conversation is like, you know, you got to kind of a mix of, you know, a lot of stuff. Like I think I'm very good at exploitive stuff, but I'm not as great as the GTO stuff, and I need to work on that myself. So I think
Yeah.
if you can get all that stuff kind of mixed together, I mean, that's the key. I don't think there's never going to be one way that just the GTO solvers are great, but they don't count for the guy that's half fucking wasted. Excuse my language. Half wasted, you know, and that's like,
Yeah, or there's just gonna be a hand where like it's like 7 ways to the flop, and it's like a solver can't solve that, you know. But
yeah,
not yet, at least. But yeah, you got to be able to do both. I think it's important to realize that like the solver is fake. Like that is not real poker. Like what it's showing you is a model of one robot playing against another robot, and they know each other's strategy perfectly, and they're getting down the net to a Nash equilibrium, you know. But it's fake. It's not real. But they're amazing to learn from. Amazing to learn from. But don't try to do that at the table. Just learn things that actually, you know, matter. Like there's certain, like I I've been kind of like soft coaching some people lately, and like I don't charge anybody any money yet or anything, but there's like it's overwhelming when you look at a solver to be like, oh, I want to try to like replicate this, but that's not really what it's about. And you got to teach them how to like read it, like, and be like, what am I actually looking for? What matters? Like what applies to real life and what doesn't, basically.
Yeah. What with the future, are you planning on staying on Vegas, or like do you have a long term? I'm going to jump to the super future. What's long term game plan this thing? Do you want to be doing this for the next 30 years of your life, or you want to kind of get in, get your money invested, and get out, or like what's the game plan going on in the long term?
Maybe I really don't know. I don't have like any super long visions yet. Like I know there's a lot of people that like get into poker, right, and then they accomplish a lot, and then they kind of like pivot out or like play less as they get almost like too rich, but like or they're doing something else. But I don't know. Like right now I love playing, and right now it's like my main focus is I just want to be at the top level as much as I possibly can. And there is maybe one day I'm just sick of it or something, but I highly doubt it. And I'm sure it'll be something that's always going to be a part of my life, whether something more interesting comes up and kind of supplants it and takes up more of my time, maybe. But right now I'm planning on staying here in Vegas for the foreseeable future. And I just want to play as much stuff as I can, more big stuff, and just keep getting better.
Now, your boys that you mentioned got you back into the game after you took like that hiatus.
Yeah.
What are they saying about this? I mean, they must be like on the roller coaster ride with you.
Yeah. I have a lot of my friends have been so supportive, all of them. And it's fun to kind of like have people to kind of share the success with and whatnot. But yeah, it's funny. Like if my one friend like dragged me out to go play this like 5-10 private game in Long Island, and that was like my first time playing in 3 years. And if I didn't do that, like I probably would have, never went. Me and him went to Vegas thereafter. Like that, it's just without him, it probably wouldn't have happened.
You need degenerate friends.
Yeah.
In your life.
So what you're saying is he's like your worm. Like he brought you back from retirement.
Yeah, pretty much, actually. It's funny how many parallels I have with Mike McDermott.
That's awesome, man. That's an incredible story. I mean, like I said, we're here. We're really rooting for you, even though we'd say you'd be our competition, but no, we're not really. We're not at that level.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll see him in some WSOP events. I mean,
maybe. Yeah,
we'll be out there. I'll be out there probably the week of the main. We'll probably be out there.
Yep.
Taking our shot at the dream. So.
Yeah.
But we'll be around. I'm sure we'll bump heads, and maybe I'll pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime.
Anything else you want to talk about, Brian, before we wrap up?
So normally before, we try and make it a little bit lighthearted. I got like a lighthearted list of questions. We cover a lot of other things on our channel. We had wrestling, but we're trying to refill that position. But we're big into video games. I know you said you were 10 years old in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
So 2003, what was that, like PlayStation 2? So were you a big gamer growing up? Like, did you play video games?
Yeah.
What was your system of choice as a kid? Are you a PlayStation guy, Xbox guy, or a Nintendo guy?
I think I was a bit more Xbox at the time, like Xbox 360, and then whatever the one was after that. But I definitely played like the original PlayStation when I was like really young. I remember.
Yeah. What was your game when you were a kid? What was your favorite game when you were a kid? You remember?
Yeah, Madden.
I
was probably the least fun person to play with too, because like it was, again, anytime I get into anything or like my friends do it, like I always want to be like the very best, know like all the strategies. So I'd be like Googling like all these like crazy blitzes and stuff.
Oh yeah, like disguising your defenses. And things like that.
I just want to just try to beat them so bad, but I don't know. That's just my personality. It's so funny. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Like poker players, like you can't really do anything, any kind of like fun game and take it like lighthearted. Everybody's like got to find the optimal strategy and like try to come up with like the perfect strategy. It's pretty funny. But
that's funny.
What do you have any other nerdy hobbies or anything that like we are Nerdthusiasts? So do you have any comics or movies or like anything?
Yeah, I love all that stuff. Comics, movies. Nothing like too in particular that's like that much of a hobby. I'm so focused on poker, but yeah, I love all that stuff, like all the superhero movies, all the comics. my grandfather's aunt actually worked for Marvel Comics, so I was like very into that
Oh,
growing
nice.
up. Yeah,
That's-
she worked with Stan Lee actually. She was like
Wow,
one of the first
that's
people.
pretty sick.
Yeah. So
That's
I was
awesome.
a big fan of all that growing up, and still.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, my last question: as someone who came up on the Moneymaker boom, who was the best person, or I would say, like, what was your like moment of fame playing poker now at the table with? Like, who was the guy that you've played next to that you've maybe busted in a hand, or like you kind of chopped it up with? That was like your hero from that boom time.
Or like idol or whatever. Anyone
Yeah.
understand? What's that?
Yeah, my favorite person like growing up was always Tom Dwan. Like I thought he was like the sickest. Like watching those high stakes pokers. I've never played with him, obviously. I've never even seen him, but I think the first time I played with Negron, it was kind of surreal. That was like
Yeah.
like wow, this is weird. And like I remember like watching his like World Series of Poker vlogs or whatever. Like the one year when he did those, I would watch him every day, and then I was like in a couple of them like the last year when I was like next to him at the 25K six max and stuff. I'm like, it's just weird, like how I used to, I was watching this and I'm in it. It's just it's funny.
That's cool.
That's it, man. Made it full. That's it. Full circle. You made it.
The dream.
Yeah, that
the
is the dream. Nice.
Well, hey man, thanks for coming on. I'm glad we were able to do the first podcast with you.
This was fun. Thanks for having me on.
You're gonna have good success, man. And you keep up the bankroll management and keep firing against these pros and destroying them, man. I hope that you're gonna be bracelet hunting pretty quickly here. So
yeah, sure.
Let's hope. Thanks for having me on, guys. This was fun.
No problem. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the Nerdthusiast YouTube, or you can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are played. But thanks, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everybody.